So this is probably our most anticipated boot launch that we have ever come out with. That is our genuinely made Barefoot Moccasin boots. Now, a couple months ago, we came out with our standard Moccasin boot, which has been a huge success, and many of you have had many happy miles on them already. Now, funny enough, we actually started work on the Barefoot Moccasin at the same time that we started work on the standard Moccasin boot. It has been an absolute monster to get right and to make sure that we can give you the best genuinely made Barefoot Moccasin on the market. Now, what is a genuine moccasin boot? Now, a genuine moccasin boot means that the boot is made from the bottom up. So here, I actually have what your foot is going to be standing on. The vamp is then molded outwards, and then what we do is we attach the apron to the top of the boot, and it is hand sewn around. So a very handcrafted and very different boot to our traditional stitch down construction. Whereas the stitch down boot, the vamp is actually on top of the boot, then molded over the last, flanged outwards and stitched to the midsole. So a completely different construction to what our standard range is, and what we have spent so many months, actually over a year now, developing to make sure we can bring you one of the best genuinely made moccasin boots on the market, and now a barefoot spec to add to that. Now let's dive into the guts of what goes into this boot. So first of all, we had to develop a completely new last. Now obviously, with all the hand sewing that's involved in this, the boot takes a bit of an odd shape in its raw state before we mold it. As you can see here, it has that zero drop, which is obviously a spec that is required for a barefoot boot. Now it is nice and wide. We did spend a lot of time, numerous samples done in lasting to make sure the fit is perfect. You can't just take the usual last that we use on our standard moccasin and use it here. Next up, we have the upper of the boot. We're going to be offering it in our workhorse and our meander style, and I'll show you the colors and the leather options that we'll be offering at the end of this video. But as mentioned, this is a genuine mock construction. So we take the vamp is lined with our calfskin yellow lining, the traditional one that we use here at Jim Green. And then as you can see on the other side here, I have our famous fudge leather. Now as we do here, we are very transparent about what goes into our boots, and being a barefoot boot, I especially want to point this out. Now, you won't see this to the naked eye, but inside of the boot, what we've had to do to make sure this boot holds its form, holds its shape, and is as best quality as possible, is put a little piece of our polyester woven board. Now you're probably all asking, why didn't you put a veg tan leather in here? And that is because we actually couldn't. It just wasn't firm enough to hold the shape when we were making these boots. So you probably won't even notice this, but I know that the barefoot enthusiasts, they will be particularly interested in this because it does raise your heel ever so slightly here. But I thought I would point it out, but if it wasn't for that, we definitely wouldn't get such a good looking boot that holds its form and shape. Now, the quality of this polyester woven board is really, really good. I haven't seen it fail in any of our other boots that we manufacture, and the only time it does form a weak point is when this board is bending quite a bit. So obviously, being in the heel of the boot, you're not going to get any bend, and it's purely for structure. Next up is the outsole of the boot, and being a genuine mock construction, what we have to do is we Blake stitch this to the boot, so there's not going anywhere or going to fall off. So as with our standard or original mock toes, what we have is a nice piece of veg tan leather with our resin runner. Now we use the resin runner because this sticks to the outsole really, really well, and you're not going to have delamination problems. So to sum up what your foot stands on once it goes into the boot, so first up, there is a half sock liner in there. The true barefoot enthusiast might want to remove that to obviously have more of a zero drop feel. But then after, you have our calfskin lining. As you can see, it runs all the way through the boot and forms the vamp that we then mold up. Underneath your heel is then that polyester woven piece of board, and then the rest of what you're standing on is our full grain leathers that we make all of our Jim Green boots out of. So quite a bit of leather that you're standing on, and hence one of the reasons why genuine mocks are just so damn comfortable. Next up is probably another huge anticipated release of ours, and that is our newly made Barefoot sole. Now we are referring to this as our Africa Outsole, and the reason for that is it was originally designed to be used on our anatomical last. So we call it the Africa sole because it has a bit of an Africa look and feel to it, but at the same time the anatomical look to it has quite a wide fore area and then narrows down in the heel, almost giving you the shape of Africa, the continent, and obviously being based in South Africa, it aligns with our roots. Now the biggest thing here is obviously we've gone for quite an aggressive lug, but at the same time trying to stick to that barefoot feel. The lugs we have positioned just far enough so that if you do walk through some muddy areas or mud or debris dries in here, it is very easy to remove. Often lugs are so close together, it becomes a little bit tricky to get them out. And then most importantly is we have gone with our slightly firmer rubber compound. Now it's the same and latest rubber compound that we use on our JG lug sole, so it does have some give and is going to last a lot longer than the Anvil outsole. Now Anvil outsole has been unbelievable. People love it for its comfort, but if you are wanting just something a little bit firmer, something a bit more aggressive, something that's going to last a little bit longer, then the Africa sole is going to be for you. Now once again, developing an outsole is no easy task. Here you can see one of the original outsoles that we had put together. We really wanted to give it more of that African feel and touch with all these moving parts here. But as you can see, with time, we've simplified it quite a bit, and that is just so that it can be a bit more versatile to use on various other styles. We know that this won't only be offered on the Barefoot Moccasin and anatomical last, because eventually it will roll out into custom boots and obviously into the rest of our barefoot range as we continue developing. Now the biggest difference between our Barefoot Mocs and the original ones that we came out with is the weight of the boot. There's quite a substantial difference in the weight. Now our Barefoot Mocs come in at 1.4 kgs for a US size 8, whereas our standard moccasins come in at 1.9 kg. So quite a big difference just for such a few changes. And it's almost quite amazing just how lightweight and great these boots feel on your feet. Just reducing that weight, reducing any unnecessary rubber, it really does feel like a great boot, and I'm really excited to get this onto feet and to hear your guys' thoughts. So what leathers are we going to be offering across the two styles? So let's start with the workhorse. So we have the Bronco Brown, which has been a huge hit. Is a slightly firmer leather, so going to take a bit of a break-in period, but I think it pairs really nicely with our black Africa outsole. Next up we have, and obviously we'll be offering it in our fudge nubuck. Obviously goes and pairs very nicely with the beige shoelaces. And just to show you guys, we have had a pair of Barefoot Mocs on wear test since February. So Jono, our great cameraman, editor, man of many talents, he's been wearing these every single day for the past couple of months. Obviously at the time we never had the Africa outsole, so he has the Anvil on here, but just to show you some of the wear. Now this was made on one of the original lasts, so we have changed the last, we've changed the outsole, we've changed the fit, but this has been on wear test and he has given us some really great feedback just to show you some wear on the fudge. And then last but not least, we'll also be offering the workhorse in the black with black shoelaces. So a nice selection over there. And then on the Meander, we are going to just be offering two leather options, and that is going to be the fudge and then the Bronco. So thanks very much for watching, chaps. As you can see, one style, two different ways of making it, and almost a completely different boot. So it just shows how much time, effort and investment it takes for us to put into developing a boot like this. So we do appreciate your help, and most importantly we appreciate those that support our pre-sale, because once we see the feedback on the pre-sale, just helps us plan for the next few months to come, especially at this time of the year when we close over December and January. It creates a bit of a backlog in our production. So please, if you don't want to miss out on the first drop of our Barefoot Mocs, I do suggest ordering now to not be disappointed, because the next batch that arrives will probably only be middle to the third quarter of next year. So please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, email in with any suggestions you may have, or comment below. And thanks very much for watching, and thanks again for the support.